show.
Those people who facilitated this, who made this happen, they know who they are.
I will get everything I want. There will be destroyed forever.
Everyone plays a part in the story of Michael Jackson.
I think Michael Jackson started dying the minute he was falsely accused.
I noticed that he seemed tired because of the rehearsing.
Everyone has a piece of the puzzle.
He did say, Deepak, have you heard of this thing that takes you to the valley of death and then brings you back?
If we finally put them all together, what would we see in the big picture?
All right, Michael Jackson is in the...
Michael's body was placed on this gurney.
Then the other family started to come. And she said, Frank, how is he? And I said, he didn't make it, Kate. She said, what do you mean? I said, I'm sorry, he passed.
Michael was not going to get old. Michael did not want to get old. Michael was Peter Pan.
It's a horrible Hollywood tragedy, an American tragedy, and a human tragedy.
There are so many fragments of truth to put together when you unravel the mystery of Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson may have very well been the most talented performer ever, but for the last 15 years of his life, that fact had been lost to a generation who only remember him for being accused of child molestation or a man whose plastic surgeries went sour. 5 years ago, I became obsessed with the story of Michael Jackson. As I watched the world turn against him, I began to gather evidence on the true story of the King of Pop. I worked to gain access to Michael's inner circle by constructing an elaborate series of fake alibis and credentials. I took my camera with me, and I listened to anyone who was willing to talk.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing. So here at the salon, I'm trying to learn how to be a hairdresser here. I'm going to do the Michael Jackson style.
In my first undercover interview, I spoke with a notorious hairdresser to the stars, telling her I was a gay stylist trying to learn how to do better hair extensions.
Do you think he had extensions?
I don't think Michael would have used extensions if he would never got burned. You know, he had to use extensions because he had a big burn spot. What do you do?
Every story I gathered was one more piece in the larger puzzle of Michael Jackson. I was trying to get to the bottom of whether or not Michael was a child molester. When I first started out on this wild odyssey, I thought Michael was guilty. By the end of my investigation, I no longer believed it. I could not find one shred of proof that Michael had molested a child. In December 2008, I reported that Michael Jackson only had 6 months to live. 6 months later, the King of Pop was dead.
He's not breathing, and we're trying to pump him, but he's okay.
That last night was wonderful. It was filled with many hugs and lots of laughter. And, as Michael was leaving, we asked him, are there any notes? He said, nope. And we said, okay, see you tomorrow. He said, great, see you at 2 o'clock, love you.
There were a few hours in there where you didn't know and you kind of hope and you're getting used to the idea, but still so devastating.
Everybody was in shock. We didn't expect him to die.
He was just a good guy, and very few people like him. They're very vulnerable, very sweet, very giving, loved all people. People talk about his talent, and they should, because it is great. But I think, for me, more importantly, we lost a great person. And certainly I lost a good friend.
My worst fear occurred when Michael died. Like the rest of the world, I was completely devastated. I had hoped his handlers would wake up and get him the proper medical help he desperately needed. Instead, they booked him 50 shows because his legendary wealth had been in sharp decline.
And when I say this is it really means this is it.
Michael was more than $400 million in debt. No matter what the final autopsy reports would reveal, I am convinced it was greed that killed Michael Jackson. It is my belief that had his career not been driven by a group of undesirable bankers, agents, and doctors during his final days, Michael would still be alive. Today, the focus revolves around his untimely passing. Like all his other fans, when Michael passed, I was determined to find out how he really died.
You failed to tell the truth! You need to start telling truth, otherwise you got blood on your hands. You're the media. You're supposed to tell the truth.
A media circus gathers, waiting for Michael's personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, to surrender.
Dr. Murray, what would Michael say if he were here today, sir?
Michael by himself for so long. Justice for Michael! Justice for Michael! We love you, Michael! Justice for Michael!
Conrad Robert Murray, is that your true name, sir? And counsel, wait for the reading of the complaint statement of rights.
We're going to waive the reading of the complaint, Judge, and just enter our plea of not guilty to that complaint.
All right, not guilty, please enter. Denial.
The atmosphere was tense. It didn't last long, 20 minutes. Dr. Murray didn't speak much. When he got into the courtroom, he was basically about to cry. He seemed to be completely frightened by Michael Jackson's fans shouting at him, you are a murderer, you're a murderer, and really frightened and emotional about the whole thing.
Dr. Murray is going to be remanded into the custody of the Sheriff's Department, and bail in this particular case is going to be set at $75,000. Now, one of the other restrictions that I'm going to put that I told the attorneys, I'm going to limit your practice of medicine. You may not, under any circumstances, use any anesthetic agent, such specifically propofol. You're not to be using that, you're not to prescribe that, you're not to have it in any manner whatsoever. Do you understand that?
Dr. Conrad Murray is accused of giving Michael a fatal dose of propofol, an anesthetic used to help him sleep on the night he died. If convicted, Dr. Murray could face up to 4 years in prison. LA Judge Keith Schultz imposed a stiff bail of $75,000. Triple the bail in similar cases of this nature. Dr. Murray posted the bail shortly after the hearing and was released.
And when he got out of the hearing room, he was released. He was free, and the one who was not happy was the Jackson family.
Move this way, please. Move back, move back, move back, move back. Back up. Back up.
Can you give me the latest update about today, please? Please? Mr. Jackson, can you give me the latest update about today?
It is pretty clear that Dr. Murray's arrest has failed to silence Michael's fans, family, and the media. Everyone is still determined to find out what really happened to Michael. People have been chasing the true story of Michael Jackson for years, but nobody has put all of the pieces together, and nobody has the evidence I've gathered from Michael's inner circle. No one has the secret tapes I have.
When we'll live in a perfect paradise earth, where there's no more death, it promises that. That's my number one dream.
To achieve that. Is death something you're afraid of?
I don't want to see it.
And this is what the big picture of Michael Jackson looks like when you put all those broken pieces together.
Security in the house. The paramedics are running up the stairs.
I got there were people starting to inundate UCLA.
She said, Frank, how is he? And I said, he didn't make it, King.